Uh, Sir, I asked if we can mention MD in our CV. I didn't understand in what way. In what way do you want to make your CV using MD? Is it what you're asking? Yes, yes, yes. Very much. Okay. So if you are writing HTML as a skill, then Markdown is also a skill, because I will show you why it is a skill. Okay. In fact, I should show that to you first. Okay. So let me just show you why Markdown is a skill. Okay. So you must have seen my website mocker.in, right? Where this is just a simple website for URL shortener, clipboards, create polls. Okay, so you can try this create poll. Okay, but here what I want to show is no, when I created this site, I wanted to uh, create a documentation for this site. Okay, so basically how this particular software works, and I also wanted to create an API so that others can use this software for their own website. Okay, so for that I wanted to create a documentation. So I searched to the internet, and there is something called as static website generators. Okay, so these static website generators, what they do is they create websites from markdown files. Okay, so that is uh, very nice little thing about Hussein. I will just answer that just a minute. Let me just finish this. Okay, so I was searching for this, and I found a website called Docasaurus. Okay, so docasaurus.io. Okay, so now what is this? It is basically a website where you can create your documentation using markdown files. Okay, so I will show you how it looks. You can see the docs part and an API part. If you click on this, you can see this entire website. I have not written a single line of code for designing this. Entire site is created using markdown only. Okay, so you can see the docs part. If I go to docs part, you can see the entire thing is created using markdown. Okay, so there is how to use the URL shortener, how to use the clipboard, how to use the polls use cases. Okay, so all these things are there, and there is also the feature of blog. Lots and lots of things are there. Okay, so now how did that do this? Okay, let me show you. Now this I wanted to show you because because of that particular question, that whether this can be a skill or not. Once I will show you, you can then decide whether it is a skill or not. Okay, so if I go to my source and if I go to Docasaurus, so this is my final output. So you can see everything is HTML. Okay, so if I open this, I don't know whether it will load or not. It is basically the same site. Okay, so it is the same site that I've just shown you. Okay, so this is the site. Okay, so right now the styles are not loading because it has to be loaded from a web server. Okay, so if I want to load it, I can simply open this with code and run it on a live web server. Okay, so then it will open with the slides. Okay, so now you can see there are lots of folders that are created. All this I have not done anything. Okay, this is the thing that I have done. Okay, so this is Docasaurus source code, and if you go inside this everything is there, and if you go inside docs, you can see the markdown files that I've created. Okay, so There is markdown file for clip, then there is for poll, then there is one for URL basic. And because of this, then there is a complete folder for API, okay, how the API is to be used. So you can see there are different files, everything is a markdown file, okay. And once I compile this, what I get is this folder, which is completely HTML, okay. So you can see the wonderful feature of markdown, that you don't have to write a single line of styling, and your website is created beautifully, okay. So you can see this particular website, and this is responsive. You can see if I just reduce the size of it, it becomes completely responsive, right? So look at this. So this type of website, so this is just one example. There are lots of such static website generators, which many of them use Markdown, okay. So once you learn Markdown, such kind of simple websites where the styling is not that important, okay. So you're not looking for styling, basically you're looking for the content, so there you can use such kind of a thing. So this is very much a very important skill, and without this it will be very difficult for, once you start developing, your documentation part is going to be very difficult. Because if you look at any softwares in GitHub, you will find the documentation in readme file, okay. So let me just open Laravel for you. um, in fact, okay, Laravel will have a completely different documentation. So let me see. Okay, so you can see this, okay. So their documentation is slightly different, because they have a separate dedicated website for documentation, okay. But in many cases, in most of the cases, you will find that the documentation is stored in readme files. And also you can see something called as I think they have not enabled it, but there is something called as wiki also, okay, in GitHub. So that also uses Markdown, okay. So Markdown is very important, what do you say, uh, technology that you should learn, okay. um, Another thing that Hussein is asking is, what is an API? Okay, so API is nothing but an application programming interface, okay. So basically this software, like for example, API will be there available for most of the softwares, like in my case, I will take my case, because now this is my website, that is sorry. So this is my website Mocker, okay. So if I click on create poll, and if I type any question over here and create the poll, then every time you want to create a poll, you have to come to mocker.in, okay. So that is the website that you have to come to. But what if you build your own app, and you don't want your users to come to Mocker and create the poll, okay. You want, like it's also possible that you want to use the URL shortener feature, okay. So like you want to shorten your URL, but you don't want the users to go to my website or mocker.in and create a shortened URL. Your software should automatically do it, okay. So in that case, you can use the API, and I will just show you one of the APIs, okay. So let's suppose uh, URL shortener API. So you can see this is the URL, and if you just provide this particular element, or basically the value, it will return these things, okay. So it will return actually the uh, response is here, okay. So this response will be given, and this will show you that this is the short URL that Mocker has provided you, okay. So this you can show it to the users. So in this way, your users will never know that Mocker is being used to shorten the URL, okay. So that is the advantage of using APIs, okay. So many of the time, this APIs, you are going to use APIs a lot of the times. Like for example, you are creating a site like what is that site called? um, IPL site is there. What is it called? Where you create virtual teams, etc. Any idea what was the name of the site?
Dream 11.
Dream 11. Okay, so sites like Dream 11, you if they provide you with a API, then you can create your own website where you can get the scores and you can create your. So whenever you want to shift the focus from the original website to the your own website, then you normally use APIs. Okay, so basically APIs are used whenever you want to consume some service. Okay, so now one question may arise, why would I do that? Okay, so what is the advantage of giving this API so people will never come to my site, right? So right now there is no advantage, obviously, but later once it becomes famous, okay, once it becomes used by many people, I can create a subscription charge uh, for the developers to use it. Okay, so that can be done. Okay, so what other questions are there? uh, do they have pre-written MD codes? I didn't understand, Khan Fazal, where pre-written MD codes are there? Khan Fazal, can you just explain? You don't have to write the code for the HTML, but you have to write it for Markdown. Okay, like for example, let me just show you one of the files of my code. Okay, if I go to docs, if I go to API, let's go to URL and let's open this create.md. Okay, so you can see this is what I have written. Okay, so it is not that you don't have to write anything, you have to write it, but it becomes much more easier and you can see that it is readable also. Okay, so we will go through this one by one. Okay, any other doubts? Danish is asking, can we link MD files with any backend language? Okay, see, MD is just a way of representing the text. You can integrate it with any language you want. Okay, so you can write something called as a parser. Okay, so you can create a parser for the MD which will read the MD and convert it into an HTML. So that is possible, you can do that. uh, as such, Markdown is directly supported. You don't need any extension as such, but if you add that extension, you will get some shortcut features that is there. Okay, other than that, there is nothing else that is required. Okay, okay, so I think I will now continue with the remaining tags. Okay, remaining part of the course. Okay, so we have seen header, we have seen how to emphasize, how to bold the text, how to create lists, how to create ordered and unordered list. Now let us see how to create a block quote. Okay, so whenever we start writing a code, at some places we may not we may like to highlight a particular block of segment. Okay, so maybe it is a usually it is used to highlight a block code. Okay, so for adding a block code in HTML, it is simply okay this tag. Okay, but in Markdown, just you have to add this, that's it, and your block quote is ready. Okay, so now here you can say, so you can see the difference. So out of all these things, you can see that this code looks slightly different. Okay, so you can see now I can add another increase this. Okay, so you can see now, right now when I write hello and then world, output is coming on the same line. Okay, so that is the default behavior of Markdown. So this is very important to understand. So whenever you do this, it is not going to take it to a different line. Okay, so for that what you have to do is add two spaces, then it will go to the new line. Okay, so after the line you add two spaces, then it will go to the new line. Okay, so that you have to keep in mind. Okay, so you can also do nested block quotes. Okay, so for that you have to do put another block quote inside another block quote. Okay, so now you can see I can do this. So you can see there is a block quote over here, then again another block quote inside that. Okay, so this is possible. So that is all about block quotes. Okay, so now where do we use block quote? Okay, so whenever you want, you have something to be very important, something to be specified to the users, you can put that inside a block quote. Okay, next let's go to links. Okay, so now how to create links in block Markdown. Okay, is there any questions? Yes, yes, to highlight, yes. Okay, so now how to create links in Markdown. Okay, so creating links in Markdown is very simple. You just have to, now in HTML, you use an anchor tag, right? But in Markdown, it is very simple. You just start with a square brackets. Okay, inside that, sorry, after that you start with a round brackets. Okay, so in the square brackets you have to specify the name of the link. Okay, so that will be displayed, and the actual link goes inside the round brackets. Okay, so let's say Google, and here I can say https google.com. Okay, so you can see this particular line has been converted into a link. Okay, so you can see now it is clickable. If I click, it goes to now if I click on open, it goes to the website google.com. Okay, so this is how you can create links. Okay, so now I can create another link for Facebook. So this will create a link for Facebook. Okay, so now I want Facebook on a new line. What should I do? Any idea?
Sir, give two spaces.
Yes, exactly. So once I do give two spaces at the end of the first one, it will come down. Okay, obviously if you don't want to do that, you can do this also. Okay, so you can add additional space, that also will do. Okay, but this is my way of doing it. Okay, there are now few questions. Okay, there is one question. So in MD, is it the files support CSS styling for styling the text? Okay, Huzefa is asking, so in MD, is it the files support CSS styling for styling the text? Uh, Let me explain it to you again. The styling part is controlled by the website. Okay, so the place where the preview is being seen, that is the controlling the styles. Like for example, in Visual Studio Code is handling the styling. Okay, but in GitHub, the styles for H1 or the bold, the italic, the ordered list will be different for GitHub. Okay, so GitHub will decide it in their own way. Okay, so if I will just show you one example. Okay, let me when we'll see tables, that time I will show you how different websites have different styles for showing tables. Okay, but the code remains the same. The look and feel will differ from website to website. Okay, because some of them may add borders to the table, some of them will not add borders. Okay, so everything, the styling depends completely on the software which is showing you the output. Okay, but the code is portable. Okay, so the code will remain the same whether you are using it in GitHub or whether you're using it in some other interface. Okay, the code remains the same, that's why it is called portable. Okay, so have you understood how to create links? Okay, any doubts still here? Okay, so next we will see how to add referenced links. Okay, now let's suppose there is a paragraph. Okay, so there is a big paragraph and google.com is being used at many places. Okay, so there are multiple places where google.com is being used, the link for google.com is being used. Okay, so do you think it will be a good idea to keep on repeating this code everywhere? Okay, so I don't think that will be a good idea. So what I will do is I will use a reference link. Okay, so reference link is something like this. Okay, so what you do is you just add a square bracket. This you can put it anywhere in the document, it is not going to be visible. You can just go down to the end, and you can just name it, let's say Google. Okay, or let me call it Google link. Okay, Google link. Okay, and you should end it with a colon. Okay, once you put colon, okay, before you put colon, you can see now it is visible. Now if I put colon and if you give the address, let's say, as soon as I type the address, the output from the output, that particular thing is gone. Okay, so basically it will not be visible. This particular line that I'm adding, it will not be visible. Okay, so google.com. Okay, so once I add this, now I have this name now everywhere. Okay, so I can use this name wherever I want to reference Google. Okay, so whenever you want to reference using names, the link format changes slightly. Okay, so you don't have to use round brackets. Instead of that, there will be square brackets only. Okay, so you can see now there is first square bracket is for the text that will be visible. The second square bracket will be the name of the link. Okay, because it is reference, that's why the name of the link. Okay, so that name should be same as this. Okay, so now you can see it is the same. It is referencing the same. Now, what is the advantage of this? You can copy this, paste it any number of times. Okay, so wherever it will not be pasted like this, but whenever there is a huge paragraph and whenever there is google.com, you just have to paste it at one place and it will be, it will work. Okay, so that link will be replaced. You can see all the links refer to the same google.com. Okay, now you may ask, sir, why not directly use the link? Okay, why to reference it? Okay, there are two reasons why to reference it. Okay, right now the link is very small. Okay, now have you ever generated a drive sharing link? It is very big, right? If you put those links over here continuously, then the whole idea of markdown, of readability, goes away. Okay, so your links are so big that your paragraphs will be merged with the links, so that is very bad to look at, right? So that's why we use referencing. Another thing very important is, what if the drive link changes? Okay, you have used it at 10 places on your document and your drive link changes, so now you have to update each and every link. Okay, but if you have create a reference, then you just have to change it at one place and it gets changed everywhere. Okay, so now when to use referenced and when to use direct link, it is completely your choice. If you know that that particular link is going to be used many times, then it is better to create a reference and then use it. If it is going to be used a single time, then I would prefer to use it directly. Okay, any doubts still here? Oh, okay, So Umair is asking, sir, if you want to reduce the size of the bullet point fonts, how we can reduce it? So again, Umair, I'm again telling you, style cannot be controlled by uh, the writer. Okay, so writer does not have the right to change the font or the look or the feel of the output. Okay, so output is controlled by the developer or the software which you are using. Okay, so in this case, Visual Studio Code, if you are in GitHub, then GitHub is controlling it, so you cannot control it. Okay, so this is not like HTML where you are more interested in styling. Okay, so this is not for styling. This is for documentation and other content writing purposes. Okay. Now there is a very nice question by Josefa, and in fact, even I have never added a comment. So I will just get back to you on that. Okay, so let me go ahead. We have very little time. Okay, so let's add now images. Okay, so now to add images, it is very simple. It is the same technique like the link. Okay, so if I just copy this, come down. Okay, so this creates a link. Okay, just if I add a exclamation point, okay, at in front of a link, that is converted now to a image. Okay, now obviously this URL should be of an image, and that I don't have. So let's get an image. So let us get a smiley face, and let's copy link address, come to Visual Studio Code and paste it. Okay, so some websites will not allow, so let's select some other link address. Okay, so this linking is not allowed in many of the sites. Okay, so I think I may have to download it locally and put it. Okay, so let's try one more, and then if still it doesn't work, we will. Okay, so I will just download it, save image, and let's save it to MD. Okay, and let's open the folder and let's call it test.jpg. Okay, so now let's come back and let's call it test.jpg. Okay, so you can see this is how you can put an image. Okay, now the reason why the other links did not work is because most of them will have will not allow you to include files locally. That's why it's not allowing, but we can always download it and put it in the same folder as uh, you are on where the MD file is there, and then you can link it directly. Okay, any doubts still here? The same way you can also do referenced images also. Okay, like we have done referenced links, the same way you can do referenced images also. So the syntax is the same. The same way we have done this, we can do referenced images also. Okay, so that is not that difficult. Okay, so next let us move on. Okay, so next, what if we want to add a table? Okay, so next part is very important. Okay, so to add a table, no, we don't need any library for images. Okay, so Chaitanya Rathod, sir, Facebook is a folder in which image? Sir, Facebook is a folder. Okay, sorry, I forgot to tell you, this is the alt text of your image. Okay, so if you know uh, the tag of HTML img, then there is a source attribute, that is this. Okay, and there is an alt attribute, that is this. Okay, and if you want an hover text, you can add another thing. Okay, you can just add a space, and here you can just add uh, let's say face, okay, smiley. Okay. So if I do this now, if I hover over it, you can see smiley. Okay. So now you may ask then, sir, why is this Facebook, this text required? Okay. This text is required. Let's suppose the image is not loading. Okay. So let me just put an incorrect name. You can see this is when Facebook appears. Okay. So whenever the image does not load, the text, this text will appear. Okay. So this text must be something which is logical. Okay. Not Facebook. I've just copied the link. That's why, but it should be something logical. And this is the title. That is when the image loads. If you want to hover over it, then you can get a smiley. The whatever text you put over here, that will come over on top of it. Okay. So let's move on to the last topic of this particular session. Then the remaining things we will cover in the next session. Okay. So
Hello,
next
sir.
is, yes.
Sir, can we reduce the size of the image?
No, we cannot reduce the size of the image. So you have to crop it in some editor like GIMP or Photoshop, and then reduce to that the size that you want, and then you can put it. Okay. Some websites will add a responsive tag to the class. In that way it will be always responsive, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay. So now that again depends on the developer. Okay. So from developer to developer the code changes, right? So the look and feel of the sorry, not the code does not change, but the look and feel of the output may change. Okay. Okay, so I will get back to the question. Let me just complete the table part. Okay, so for the table, for creating table, you all know in HTML it is very tedious, to open the table tag, then tr tag, then td tag. Okay, so all these things. So here it is all about simplicity. Okay, so how to make the things simple. Okay, so all you have to do is give the column names, serial number. Okay, then separate it with a pipe. Okay, so this pipe symbol is what separates everything. Okay, so after separating it, then what you have to do is give the next column name, then again separate it, then let's say marks. Okay, then once that is done, next column should be something like this. Okay, so there should be minimum 3 lines. This is basically, I will tell you what this line is. Okay, and last one. So as soon as I complete this, you can see what has happened. Okay, so I get something like a table structure. Okay, so now let me add the rows or the things that are there. Okay, so let me add the first one, my name, and then the marks 30. Okay, so the next row 2, 50, and let's take last row 40. Okay, so you can see how nicely the table is created. Okay, so there is as such no HTML code I have written. It is just simple text and you are getting a nice little table over here. Okay, so now there are certain things that you can do in this table, like you can do some alignments that can be done. Like for example, right now you can see everything is left aligned. Okay, so now if you want to change the alignment, what you can do, let's suppose I want the first column to be center aligned. Okay, so for that what you have to do, that is where this particular line is very important. Okay, so this is basically doing that only. Okay, so you just have to change the first and the last to colon. Okay, so as soon as you do that, this means center aligned. Okay, so you can see now the column is center aligned. Now if you want, by default it is left aligned. So basically left aligns means this. Okay, if you do this, or if you do not put the colon, then it is by default left aligned. Okay, but if you want to do right align, you must have already guessed it. Okay, so right align, you have to just put this. Okay, so now everything is right aligned. Okay, so it is that simple to do this. Okay, so let me just make this also left aligned, and sorry, I will, yeah, this is right aligned. Okay, so you can see how easy it is to create tables. Okay, now are there any queries? Till then I will just finish up the queries of the, okay, height and width, not possible to control. Obviously you can control, but you have to change the size of the image manually. Okay, okay, so can we add background color? No. Image alignment can be done. See, again, background, adding a background color means you are changing the style of the website. Okay, so that is not allowed. That is not the reason why Markdown is used. Okay, Markdown is not used for Markdown is used basically so that you guys follow the standards of the website that on which you are working. Okay, so you don't have that right to change the style. You have the right to format it according to the style that is mentioned in the website. Okay, can we add for vertical line? Okay, again, this vertical line, all these things are done by the styling of uh, the websites. Okay, so I will just show you one example. I will just copy this from here and paste it in, where is this? Okay, I will paste it in Dlinger. Okay, so you can see the same code looks like this in Dlinger. Okay, and in fact in GitHub also it looks the same. Okay, so you can see now the styling is completely different in terms of, from website to website. So the website decides the styling, so you cannot decide it. Okay, another very good question about horizontal lines. We can add three dots, three lines, three minus signs, which will create a horizontal line. Okay, anywhere. Okay, you can see this creates a horizontal line. Okay, so I can add another horizontal line over here. So that is very simple. Okay, so I think the time is up. We will start the next session immediately. Okay, so you can join again. I will stop this meeting here.